Okay, so we're doing words about format. So the first thing I want to look at is probably a few words down. Let's see. Have them in here, right? Yeah. Okay. So it's the last page of the document. You'll see a space for stanza. Okay, are you there? I'll pull up my form too so that I can make sure. You could also just do a search and find stanza. Does everyone have the form at least? It's still loading. Okay. There's so many poetry words. Okay, while it's loading, let me just tell you sort of the reason that we need to care about these words. One, when you're writing poetry analysis, it is so helpful to have the vocabulary words to describe what you're talking about. But two, on the multiple choice questions for the poetry sections on the test, they will ask you questions about these vocabulary words, or the vocabulary will just sort of be embedded in the questions, so that if you don't have that language, then you won't be able to really understand what the question's asking you. So that's why we do all these definitions. Where are we with that? Is it open? No. This is fun for people. I know, it's so miserable. And they just keep telling us like, oh, we'll add notes. And then they come on Fridays when there are no students here and they check the internet and they say, it's fast. And then they leave. We're like, yes, because there aren't 2,300 kids here right now. That's why it's fast. And you'd think the internet guys would sort of understand how internet works, but no. Huh?
Did you tell them that?
Yeah, and we have like the computer programming teacher, who was it? Sam Pewich? He's been like fighting them for years on it, and they just
take their job.
Damn the man is what I say always.
You found a frog? Why do you have a frog? I found a frog in your backpack.
Beautiful. Where are we on the form? Do we got the form now, Amberly?
No.
Okay.
I'll just catch up.
Well, or you can just write it down on paper and then transfer it later. All right. So the first word is stanza. Find stanza. Let's see. It is on the last page, second to last page at the top. You can see me on the Google Doc? You're supposed to make a copy. Yeah. Oh yeah, I see you now. There you all are. Brooklyn and Kylie. Maybe I tried really hard to make everything technology based, but I might just make you copies of this. Okay. So a stanza, we know, it's a group of lines forming the basic recurring metrical unit in a poem. So I'm going to say that again and just copy down what I say. A group of lines forming the basic recurring metrical unit in a poem. You probably don't need to say in a poem. So, I mean, we all know what a stanza is. When there seems to be a larger space than just a line break, then you call that one thing a stanza, right? It's like the paragraph of an essay. You could say that a paragraph is a group of sentences forming the basic recurring metrical unit in an essay, you know? But this is just like the paragraph of the poem. It's the basic recurring metrical unit is just important because the stanza patterns might repeat over and over again. Okay, you got stanza? All right, look one above it for the word caesura. Caesura, caesura. Okay, how do I say that word again? All the band people always help me with this.
Yeah, you said it right.
Okay, good. Caesura. I feel like it's one of those words that they're always just like, no, you say it like this, and then it sounds exactly the same as the way I said it. All right, a caesura is a pause near the middle of a line of poetry. A pause near the middle of a line of poetry. All right, look above that one for end-stopped lines. This is a line in verse which ends with the completion of a phrase or sentence. A line which ends with the completion of a phrase or sentence. So that can be a line that ends, it's like a line that ends where there is a natural pause. And usually that's with a comma or with a period, but we also have phrases and sentences that sometimes just sound like they have a natural ending point, and that is an end stop line. And the opposite of an end stop line is the word right above that, enjambment. Enjambment is the continuation of a sentence without a pause beyond the end of a line. The continuation of a sentence without a pause beyond the end of a line. Okay, I think that's good for today on definitions. Do you need me to repeat any of those? Stanza, caesura, and stop enjambment. Okay, a stanza is a group of lines forming the basic recurring metrical unit in a poem. All right, so caesura and stopped enjambment. A lot of poems are going to have all three of those things. Let's take a look at an enjambment in This Is Just to Say. We already talked about it. I have eaten the plums. There we go. There's an enjambment because there's no pause at the end of that, right? If you pause there, it sounds weird. I have eaten the plums that were in the icebox. Like I'm like starting to sound like a beat poet, which I don't like. I shouldn't have said that. We have beat poems here. Okay. Anyway, I have eaten the plums is an enjambment because it keeps going, right? But when you get to I've eaten the plums, which were in the icebox and which you were probably saving for breakfast, that's an example of it not having a comma in it, but you do take a natural pause at the end of icebox because technically if you were to write that sentence as prose, there would be a comma there. And you would say, and which you were probably saving for breakfast. That one definitely is end stopped after breakfast because you would start a new sentence with forgive me, they were delicious, so sweet and so cold. So the forgive me starts a new phrase. Forgive me is also an end stopped one. Does that make sense? Okay, I am going to read to you this poem Identification. And I want you to mark at least one caesura, one enjambment, and one end stopped line. There are no stanzas in this poem. Okay, sound good? You're just marking those three things. All right. I meant to look up how you say her name, Szymborska. Szymborska, I think is how you say it. Wisława Szymborska. There we go. All right. It's good you came, she says. You heard a plane crashed on Thursday? Well, so they came to see me about it. The story is he was on the passenger list. So what? He might have changed his mind. They gave me some pills so I wouldn't fall apart. Then they showed me I don't know who, all black, burned except one hand, a scrap of shirt, a watch, a wedding ring. I got furious. That can't be him. He wouldn't do that to me, look like that. The stores are bursting with those shirts. The watch is just a regular old watch. And our names on that ring, they're only the most ordinary names. It's good you came. Sit here beside me. He really was supposed to get back Thursday, but we've got so many Thursdays left this year. I'll put the kettle on for tea. I'll wash my hair. Then what? Try to wake up from all this. It's good you came since it was cold there. And him just in some rubber sleeping bag. Him, I mean, you know, that unlucky man. I'll put the Thursday on, wash the tea, since our names are completely ordinary. This is sad. It's a very sad poem. Okay, tell me, where did you find a caesura in this poem? Just one.
The very first line.
The very first line. It's good you came. Long pause, she says. Yeah, that's a caesura. Any pause in the middle of the line. Did anyone have a different caesura? Allie Rose?
Well, it's the same one, but it's good. Wait, that counts.
Yeah, that's the one that we just said.
You came sit here beside me.
Oh, where's that one? Oh, yes, perfect. That period, so that one's like towards the end of the poem, right? Like about a third of the way up. It's good you came. Sit here beside me. Yes, a very clear pause right there in the middle of the sentence. One that might not count for a caesura is the one that says a scrap of shirt, a watch, a wedding ring. There isn't really a clear pause there. It's just punctuated as a list. So I wouldn't call that a caesura. It's only when you would really naturally take a pause, the end of a phrase or a dash or the end of a sentence in the middle of a line. Okay, I only see one enjambment, I think, in this poem. Where is it? Kylie?
Well, so they came to see me about it.
Yeah, you wouldn't pause there at the end of me. You would say, well, so they came to see me about it, right? So that one's an enjambment because it just continues on to that next line. The rest of them seem end stop to me. Is there anywhere else where you would say that it's enjambed? Yeah, I don't think so. Okay, and then yeah, like I said, the rest of them are end stop. So any other line would have done for the end of the phrase, including lines that end in commas, not periods. So like towards the end where it says, I'll put the Thursday on, wash the tea, since our names are completely ordinary, that still is a natural pause to the end of that phrase. Okay, so those definitions are clear now, right?